The first part of the stress management plan that I'd like to cover is about tackling the problem. It's about the problem-focused strategies. Strategy 1, make the problem manageable. You see, as long as you see a problem as a mountain, then you look at the top and you think, I can never get there. You look at the base and you say, I can never go around it. And you find yourself falling at the base, giving up. What's really important is for people to understand that every problem can be broken down into parts. Just as a mountain is really just a series of hills layered on top of each other. It's overwhelming when you look at the whole thing. You can't imagine climbing it. But if you climb onto the first hill, you feel like you've accomplished something. And you look at the top, and it's that much closer, that much more manageable. So there are a variety of ways that we can prepare our kids to be able to break problems down. This is about making lists. This is about making timelines. Every time your child comes to you and sounds like they're overwhelmed or catastrophizes, which means that they're adding one piece on top of another, on top of another. In other words, they're building their own mountains. We teach them to slow down. We teach them to think about the one thing that they can handle and conquer now. That might be the most important part of managing stress, is knowing that every problem can be broken into its pieces. Strategy 2 is not tackling a problem at all. It's doing the opposite. It's creating space between you and the problem. It's active avoidance. You know, the example I always give is if there's a bully in your school, then by all means, you've got to take it on. But if there's a bully in your neighborhood and he only acts up when you ride your bike past his house, find a new route. You know, the person who wins every fight is the person who never shows up. That is an incredibly important thing to think about. Problems can be broken into people that stress you out, places that stress you out, or things that stress you out. When you know your people, places, and things, it's a really good strategy not to take them on, to not confront them, to actually avoid them. Strategy 3 is to make sure that we're assessing situations correctly. Why? Because we want to learn to conserve energy. You know, one of the things that when people talk about resilience, a lot of times people talk about optimism, which is a kind of a beautiful thing, but it's actually not the best way to conserve energy. People who are optimists feel like they can handle things they may not be able to handle. They take things on that they may not be able to conquer. On the other hand, people who are pessimists never even get onto the playing field, so they can really shoot themselves down before even beginning. What do you want? You want to be able to make a realistic assessment. What's real, right? And then to have a hopeful disposition, to know that I can handle this. I can take it on. As long as I know it's not a tiger, and as long as I break it into steps, I can handle it. So again, you let some things go. You conserve some energy. You make a realistic assessment of what you can handle and what you can't, and then you begin dealing with the problem. We know this. Many of us were raised with a Serenity Prayer. We see it in our classrooms. We see Serenity Prayers in recovery programs throughout the country. Why? Because for people who've been through the most, this is a life lesson that really teaches you how to handle the world. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.